for the event.
Houston, this is Station. I'm ready for the event.
Czech TV, this is Mission Control Houston. Please call station for a voice check.
Station, this is Daniel. How do you hear me?
We have you loud and clear. How do you hear me, Daniel?
Drew, thank you very much for joining us from the orbit to Earth. Thank you very much for joining us. I can hear you absolutely fine. Everything seems that is on the spot.
Okay, I'm sorry. I missed your last. Please say again.
I think we have a good connection. We can hear you fine. There is no trouble at all.
Fantastic. I've got you the same.
That's perfect. Hello, Drew. It's great to hear you. It's great to see you. And thank you so much for joining us from the orbit. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, Daniel. I'm happy everybody's tuned in, and we're doing well up here on the space station after almost 2 weeks of work.
You are flying at 7.6 kilometers per second. Where are you right now? What region of Earth can you see when you look out over the window of ISS?
That's a good question. Stand by a second. Okay, Daniel, sorry about that. We are traveling over the Earth, and what we can see is whole continents at a time. Basically, when we start over, for example, South America, I can see the whole tip of South America as we come across. And right now, it looks like we are traveling over the Atlantic Ocean on our way to South Africa.
It's amazing. It's been a busy time for you on ISS. You performed a successful EVA with Ricky Arnold. What were your tasks?
For those tasks, we had some work to do outside. Ricky Arnold worked to replace a camera out on the end of the boom on the out of the end of the truss on the top of the space station, and that was out on what we call the port side or left side of the space station as we fly with U.S. segment forward. And then the work that I did was installing some external wireless antennas to help with an experiment to monitor vegetation and Earth from orbit on ISS.
And what is it like to move across ISS during an EVA? How do you feel the motion of space station that is flying at speed of 27,000 kilometers per hour during a spacewalk?
Well, I can tell you after 7 years, after a delay of 7 years in getting outside to do a spacewalk, I was a little bit surprised again as I climbed out of the airlock and looked down on the Earth. It was quite a sight, and I had that same feeling that I had the first time I went outside, which was that the Earth was pretty far below, and there's always a slight fear of falling. But fortunately, that only lasts a second or two, and then your training kicks in, and you realize that it's time to get to work. But it was amazing hanging off of the bottom of the space station and realizing that it was just the Earth beneath me. It was quite a sight from the spacesuit.
And you actually have a mild fear of heights. How do you deal with that? Because you are, as you said, 400 kilometers above Earth.
Yeah, it's a little surprising when I am on Earth and I am up high on a structure over a cliff looking down into a valley or something. I do have a mild fear of heights, but up here it doesn't seem to affect me. I think because my brain knows that I'm just floating, or at least I'm falling with the space station around the Earth. So as long as I don't push myself off, there's no chance to actually fall. And unlike Earth, we don't feel the sensation of falling quickly because we're traveling around the Earth so fast. So it just feels like we're floating along together with the space station, and I don't have the same sensations that I do on Earth. But it is a little surprising that I have that slight fear when I'm back on the planet.
Indy, is that right, that he's able to handle the heights on ISS better than on a cliff on Earth?
I would say so. You should tell them about the ride at Kima that you love so much, hon.
Yeah, that's a funny story as well. There's a roller coaster at an amusement park that's nearby our home, and it's so fast and furious and a little bit rough that I don't actually like riding on it. And normally I like riding on roller coasters, but that one in particular sort of scares me, and I'd rather just stay off it if I have a choice.
And what were you thinking during your EVA about? Did you have the same thoughts you had during your first and second mission?
I would say so. I felt on this one I was busy to the point that I was fairly focused on my tasks. As I said, it had been a long time since I'd been outside working in the spacesuit, so it did take some additional focus for me to get the task done and try not to make any mistakes or errors. But the view, I did take some time to enjoy the view of Earth from the spacesuit. In fact, just before I came back inside the hatch, I took some pictures that were very unique and specific with me just wearing the spacesuit and looking down on the Earth.
You brought items closely connected to the Czech Republic, to ISS. Please, could you show us the picture called Moon Landscape, drawn by Petr Ginz? And please explain what this picture means to you personally and to humankind.
Well, Daniel, this picture is very special, and as you know, Petr Ginz was an individual, a young teenager who lost his life at Auschwitz, and at the age of 14 years old. And he was originally from Prague, and he was held in the Terezín concentration camp. But he was quite an artist and a scientist at heart, and also a visionary. And he drew this magnificent picture of the Earth as viewed from the moon. It's quite spectacular and breathtaking. And what's special to me about this drawing is the fact that Petr had come from Prague and he was from the Czech Republic, but also that this drawing, this same illustration, was taken to space by Alain Ramon on the Space Shuttle Columbia, and Alain tragically lost his life with the rest of the Columbia crew, but his intent was to fly this drawing to space as well and return it home to keep the memory of Petr Ginz and the Holocaust alive in the minds of the people in the world today. And my intent is to complete that mission for Alain, and also honor the memory of Petr and all the 6 million people who lost their lives in that time in history.
In the studio, we have the copy of Cosmic Songs and The Little Mole that you took to space. The little mole, who was in space and is now on Earth, would like to say hi to the little mole that was on Earth and is now in space. How is he doing?
Yeah, here he is right here. This little mole flew with me on the Soyuz spacecraft, and I like to think of him as Kurtek's little brother, or son of Kurtek. And he's doing well. He hangs out with me each night in my sleep cabin, and of course had that wild ride on the Soyuz spacecraft. But here he is floating. He's always got a smile on his face, so it's always a pleasure to have him around.
Seems Kurtek is enjoying the microgravity. What's your personal favorite maneuver in microgravity? Could you show us?
You want me to show you Kurtek's favorite maneuver? I'm not sure he has one yet. My favorite maneuver is to try to do somersaults, but that's a little tricky in here. I'll give it a shot. It's tough to control your movement up here, but sometimes we get it just right. And thank you. Not bad, eh?
But I know you love to fly around the ISS. I know you love to try. Yeah, that was really damn good. Not only not bad, it was really good. And I also know that you love trying to see how far you can fly across space station without bumping a wall. What's your record?
So far, my record is about 2.5 modules. I can go from Node 2 all the way through the lab and into Node 1, and that's probably about, I want to say about 40 meters or so.
These are the pleasures of microgravity. Please, could you show us some very simple experiment that would illustrate how the laws of physics change in microgravity?
Well, I know I thought about that question. In fact, the laws of physics don't change in microgravity. The reality is the biggest force that we notice here, the biggest law of physics that we notice is that every action results in an equal, every force applied results in an equal opposite force applied in the opposite direction. And so what happens, for example, is if I push some large object away from me, and it has to be a large object, generally what happens is I go the other direction instead of the object going in the direction that I want. So it's tough to show that, but I do have this nifty looking little globe that has these little M&Ms or little candies floating around in it, and you can see how they react in microgravity. It's quite fascinating to watch these things. In fact, you can see as I spin it, the little candies start to form a line as they align because of the frictional force that they feel as they're getting thrown to the outside of the sphere.
Indeed, does he love to play at home as well? Because he seems that he's loving to play on ISS.
He's a big kid at heart, definitely. But I'd say he loves to play in the garage the most.
Are your skills concerning those skills you use in garage, virtually repairing any car on Earth, really handy and useful in your current job, Drew?
Definitely. I think that those skills come in very handy on orbit. I enjoy working on equipment with my hands, and that's pretty much all we do all day long. Our primary role is as hands, eyes, and ears of researchers and scientists on the ground, and so we take care of their experiments for them. We install their equipment and make sure they receive the data home that they need to. And then, of course, when any of the components on the space station fail, our job is to make repairs to those pieces of hardware so that we can, for example, keep the lights on or keep the ventilation working, keep all the systems operating that support us and the work that's being done here on ISS. So it helps a lot to have those skills to be working and living up here.
Our viewers are really interested in your daily life on ISS, your daily life routine. One of them is asking, how do you wash and iron clothes on the ISS?
Well, that's a good question, and unfortunately we don't have the ability to actually wash clothes. We're barely able to wash our bodies, although we do that as with wet washcloths and sort of like a sponge bath. But for clothing, we simply have a certain number of days that we wear clothes, and after we've passed those number of days or decide that the clothes have been used for too long, we stow them for eventual trash, and those things get burned up in the atmosphere as items come back to the Earth on some of our supply ships. And then, fortunately, we have enough clothes that will last us for the remainder of the duration here on the space station while we're living here.
So you are wearing one T-shirt for a few weeks or several weeks. Is that right?
Yeah, essentially, I get a pair of underwear every 3 days. I get a new shirt every week, and I get new socks every week. The pants last about 30 days, and then we have a lot of other items that we use. But generally, it's the frequently used items last between 3 and 7 days.
And what's the water balance? How do you use water? What's the water cycle like on ISS?
Well, I think you may know that we recycle our water up here. We try to recover. We recover over 95% of the water that we use, just based on the water reclamation system that operates here on ISS. So that means we recover our urine, we recover the moisture in our breath, we recover the water that we put into towels to wash ourselves. And the cycle, I'm told, or I was just told by our environmental control systems engineers in Houston, that the cycle with 4 people on orbit contributing to the urine repositories takes about 2 to 3 days to go from actual urine into fresh and drinkable water.
So you have the same coffee after 3 days, the same cup of coffee, actually.
Yes, Daniel, I suppose that's one way to put it, the same cup of coffee again after 2 to 3 days.
This is a photo you posted on Twitter saying, I'm quoting, enjoying eating fresh grown lettuce from the veggie experiment on ISS. Do vegetables grown on ISS taste the same as grown?
We do grow vegetables right now. Well, right now we're growing lettuce. As far as I know, that's the only vegetable we've grown, but that's only because I've been here for just over 2 weeks. I don't know if there are plans in the future to grow other vegetables, but the lettuce is quite delicious. We get to sample it every week or so. We've had an opportunity to sample the lettuce, so 2 times over 2 weeks. And it's quite delicious. It doesn't require any sort of dressing at all. It's quite tasty. And one of my jobs is actually to take photos and water the lettuce every couple of days. And I've been enjoying doing that and watching them grow. I think we have plans for another set of new items to be in the growing area on the space station. And I don't know if you can see, I'm looking around now, but...
Let us know what it's going to be like and what the vegetable will be available.
I was just saying, Daniel, I'm sorry. I'm looking for Kurtek. I don't know where he flew off to, and somehow I let go of him, and now he's gone. So if anybody sees Kurtek floating, please let me know if you see him.
I'm sorry, I can't see him right now. We will try to look him up. I would like to ask you to tell us what's your message to Czech viewers? People from Prague, from Brno, from Ostrava, from other parts of the Czech Republic are you watching now? What's your message from the orbit to Czech citizens?
Well, as always, I'd just like to thank folks from the Czech Republic for following what we do in space and on the space station. The research is amazing, and the Czech people, I think, know that they have a great heritage with the space program, going all the way back to the late Gene Cernan, and astronauts all along that heritage within the U.S. Of course, cosmonaut Remek was also the first Czech astronaut, and we're very proud of the work that he did. and he's still promoting space and space exploration today. And so I feel happy to be able to have an association with the Czech Republic along with all the other astronauts and cosmonauts from the history of this human spaceflight program, and I'm glad folks are interested enough to follow along and help continue on that this journey of exploration in space for humankind.
Thank you so much for joining us from the orbit to Prague. Thank you so much for the interview, and please say hi to Krtek. We believe that he is somewhere down joining your feet, I guess. So please say hi for him, and especially have safe stay and successful stay on the ISS, and also safe flight back on Earth. Thank you so much.
Okay, Daniel. Thanks for your time, and Indra, it was great to speak with you as always. I love you, and we look forward to speaking with you all again. Take care, everybody.
Station, this is Houston ACR. That concludes the event.
And thank you to all participants with Czech TV. Station Houston, we are resuming operational audio comm.